obviously on the women's side, you guys have been kind of the dominant team the last couple of years. You did suffer a loss. It was a pretty stunning loss to a lot of people. I guess, what did that do to your team, and how did they respond to finally losing a conference game after a while of not doing it?
Yeah, I mean, you never are happy or excited about losing, but you always try to just learn the lesson that it presents. And we didn't come out and play our best that day. And on the road at San Diego State, there's a lot of things that can not go your way, and that did. I thought they played very well. They're a very talented team, so I rather learn that lesson early of if we don't show up, anyone can beat us. And so, since then I've been proud of our team's just intention and focus to, treat the next game, as important as anything, because that's how you have to approach it to be able to win each one.
5 straight wins since it happened. So, on the court, certainly have responded well. And we've seen that from the team. Do you feel like you guys are starting to get to a level where you want to be going into the postseason? You got a couple weeks left to fine tune some things, and obviously you want to be peaking then. Are you comfortable with where you guys are right now in that development?
Yeah, I think we're in a good place. These last 4 games are going to be tough. We play at Colorado State, then we've got our final 2 home games, and then we finish at Wyoming. So, I have a feeling we'll still learn a lot about ourselves here in the last 2 weeks, like you said, to help kind of sharpen our edges and really get us, right where we want to be. But I'm happy with how our team is playing together, sharing the ball, and being aggressive, on both ends. So, I think we're playing well. We still have, plenty of opportunity to continue to play better, but I think we're in a good spot.
What does Colorado State do that presents challenges?
Well, we played them the first time, obviously, at our place, but that was January 8th, so it's been a long time since playing them, and frankly, I think they're playing better. I would agree that we are, too. They have one of the best players in the league in Emma Ronsick, the Ronsick sisters, and they're pretty guard-oriented, so they like to play 4 and 5 guards, which, for them, obviously, it works, so it's going to challenge our post players to defend on the perimeter, but I like our advantage inside, so we have to make sure that we, hammer that home.
Which of the top 3 teams do you actually think is the toughest matchup from a personnel standpoint? We already shouted out San Diego State. They got to win against you. I think Wyoming is daunting simply because of Fertig, because she's so gigantic. But of those 3 squads, who presents the toughest challenge in terms of the matchup?
I think it's Fertig. I agree with you in Wyoming. I mean, she is just She to me is by far the best player in the league. She's dominant. On any night she can go out and get 30 or 40 points because she's so big and she's by the basket and she's a tough guard. And then they have great pieces around her. So and Wyoming, I think that's where they've continued to get better every year. Is they've had her the last number of years, but their players around her are more confident than they ever have been in the shooting and being ready when their number's called if you really try to take Fertig away.
Lindy La Rocque is with us. Curtis Terry, Cofield, Adam Hill. Of course, plenty of regular season basketball to play. CSU game is coming up, and then the Mountain West Conference Tournament, dmw.com/2025. So let's talk about some of the players on the roster. First, year 2 transition, growth, step up for Kimpson.
Yeah, Amarachi, she's an all-conference player last year, had a phenomenal freshman year, and she really hasn't missed a beat, and they always talk about some maybe sophomore slump or something, but she's been just as good for us, especially now that, she's not unknown. So, we're going to need her down the stretch to continue to make big plays for us.
How about Kiara Jackson, the veteran? What's your year been like?
Well, I said, Fertig is the best player in the league, but I think, Kiara is by far the most important player in the league. And I think every, single one of our conference coaches would agree with that. She is our brain. She's our engine. She's our head of the snake, whatever analogy you want to use. And, as a senior, she's on a mission for a four-peat.
It's a commercial here, so they went to some loud club music. So if you're hearing that, we're not playing that while you're here. Just what is going on during the commercials. I know stats aren't everything, and you can't just see everything off box scores. But you guys are elite in terms of the nation and not turning the ball over. How important is that to you and to your philosophy to make sure that continues and to be the identity of your team?
Yeah, I mean, that's not something that we just like hammer and preach as far as like, don't turn it over, don't turn it over. But I think because we are so offensive minded that we are successful, obviously, when we value the possession and at least get a shot up before we turn it over. So, I'm, as a coach, our team is able to have a low turnover number. Offensively, we feel like we play pretty well.
Lindy La Rocque is up with Cofield and Company. I also wanted to shout out some of the younger players. Meadow Rowland's really been coming on. So talk about her game a little bit. And has she exceeded your expectations?
I had pretty exceeded, but she's met them, right where I thought that she can be and what she's capable of. Redshirting last year I think was tremendous for her, and freshman of the year and 6-1 of the year, just like Rachi was last year, because she brings that much to our team off the bench.
Looking ahead, I mentioned something, and I know coaches don't like to talk about this because you don't want to look ahead. But if you got to a point at the end of the season when you're humming along and that Wyoming game didn't mean anything with standings, like how do you handle that one? Or are you in a position with the NCAA tournament where you got to win every single freaking game?
Yeah, we've never totally been in that position. Of course, honestly, I'd love to be in that position because that would mean that we've already clinched and we're in a good spot. But, I think there's too much at stake for us, long term and whatever postseason aspirations to, rest players or not try to, like, put our best foot forward in that game. So, we've got 3 more games before then, but I hear you in what you're saying. And, I think it would be hard for me to do anything different other than, play my dogs and win the game.
And Coach, obviously, I mean, you're as competitive as they come. We all know that. You've had a ton of success as a coach and as a player in the postseason. Following up on that question, how do you keep your group engaged, knowing that you guys have had success in the conference tournament, season over season, but haven't got to where you wanted to in the postseason? How do you keep them engaged to be able to achieve what you guys want to once you do get to March?
Yeah. I've relied on some great leadership, because I think that has to be internally driven. And our seniors and Kiera Jackson and Alyssa Brown and Macy James and Kennedy Winfrey that don't know anything other than winning, like they are not going to let anything stand in their way. And they're keeping the team motivated as far as like, I don't have a next game, so y'all better give me everything you got because you might have a next year, but I don't. And so I'm proud of kind of their internal leadership on that. And then for me as a coach, there's always little games within the games, and I've got to kind of push the buttons and get the feel and the vibes of the team of know where I can push them and then know when I can, love on them and cut them a break and give them some slack. So, I think it's a really delicate balance, but probably most appreciative of our internal leadership.
On the going back to the subject of closing out the season strong and needing wins to make the NCAA tournament, would you make the case that this is a different Mountain West this year? If you guys couldn't get it done in the final, get the auto bid, that you still deserve an at-large?
Yeah, I mean, I it's not just me and my personal opinion. I think the numbers speak for themselves. Last someone told me it was from a net rankings conference. Rankings. I think we were seventh best conference, and so last years we were like 13 and 14. So to jump 7 spots, like that's not just me saying it's better. Statistically, our league actually being better. So, of course, for me that means that I think we deserve an at-large bid regardless of what happens in the tournament, especially if we are able to win the regular season and kind of finish out the way we need to. But, I also don't trust anyone. So I want to control my own destiny and get the job done so we don't have to leave our fate into anyone else's hands.
You talked about the numbers saying the league is significantly better. Have you felt that week to week going around and playing these teams?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and for better or worse, like you can feel it too of we've had kind of the middle of the pack beat up on each other, which, sometimes statistically doesn't help the league, but You look at Wyoming just on Tuesday, lost at Boise State, and Boise State's sitting at like the 6th or 7th seed right now. So we feel that, and we felt it every game on the road and at home. You really have to come ready to play because there's no kind of cupcakes more.
Well, at Colorado State coming up on Saturday, and then 2 more home games to close things out. I know there's a poster night for Boise, and then senior night, and I'm sure you want a lot of people to show up, especially for senior night against San Jose State.
Yeah, Wednesday against Boise, 6:30. Obviously, we want a great crowd, but if there's one game that anyone can come to, it's got to be Saturday on March 1st. Start the month off right. To support our seniors again, the probably the most winningest class in program history. We deserve to have a packed house or sell out for them. It's going to be a whiteout, T-shirts given away, and again, hopefully we're celebrating another clinched regular season championship.